What is up, everybody? My name is Gus Bus, and welcome to my YouTube channel.
Gus Bus.
What's up, guys? We're back on CS2 today, and today we're going to be going over the best knives that are under $250. So when picking a knife at this budget, you have one big decision to make. Do I care more about the finish, or do I care more about the actual knife itself? Because if you're having something like a green or blue inventory and you want a gamma Doppler or Doppler finish, you're gonna have to get a little bit more of a low tier knife in this budget. But if you don't really care about the finish and you care more about the knife, you can actually get some pretty awesome knives in this budget. So today I'm gonna be going over some of my favorite knives under $250. Like usual, we're using Skin Search to find the pricing of all the knives. So I'll stop waffling and let's get right into it. So starting off, knives under $100, you actually have quite a few options. Starting off, we have the Navaja knife Blue Steel. Definitely the Navaja knife isn't my favorite knife in the game, but I think the Blue Steel finish looks really cool on this. I think you can pair it with some pretty cheap, nice gloves as well, and I think it's a pretty good budget option at only $78 for minimal wear. Sticking with the Navaja knife, we have the Navaja knife Ultraviolet, only $85 in minimal wear. If you have a purple and black or purple inventory, this is a really good budget option for you. It looks pretty good, you know, like I said, the Navaja knife is definitely not my favorite knife. It's a little too small for me, but I still think it looks pretty good, and minimal wear looks super clean. You can see here, very few scratches, really good budget option here. So we have another Navaja, I don't know if I'm saying it right, knife. This is going to be the Damascus Steel for $78 in minimal wear. You know, even though the Navaja knife isn't my favorite knife, I actually think this one looks pretty good. You know, I really like the Damascus Steel finishes. I think they look super clean, and I think you could pair them with some pretty cheap, nice gloves and have a really good budget combo. For $88, you can get yourself a Crimson Web Navaja knife in field tested. I actually think this looks pretty good again. You know, if you have a red inventory, this is going to fit super well. And there are a lot of pretty decently cheap red gloves you can get yourself and then have a really good budget combo without breaking the bank. Yeah, so $88, you can get yourself yet another Navaja knife. So for $99, you can get yourself a battle-scarred case-hardened Navaja knife. So the cool thing about case hardens is, I'm sure a lot of you know this, is that there are 1,000 different pattern templates, so everyone looks a little bit different. So you can really decide how gold or blue you want your knife to be. Obviously the blue ones are going to cost more, but you know, this one has a lot of blue on it and it is only $99, so pretty cool option here. Next up is a knife that is very near and dear to my heart. This is the black laminate falchion knife in battle scarred. For those of you that don't know, for the black laminate finishes, the higher the float, the darker it should be. This was more of the case in CSGO than it is in CS2. I still don't think these are nearly as dark as they were in CSGO, so hoping that gets updated. But this was actually my very first knife I ever got, so I absolutely love it. The falchion knife is a super underrated knife. I love the rare animation. I mean, just look at that. That's so awesome. So it's a really good budget option for only $96 in battle scarred. Next up, we have another falchion knife. This is the falchion knife Night in Field Tested, which will cost you around $96. I think this is another really cool budget option. Like I said, I'm a big fan of the falchion knife. I think it's a really good budget knife. You get a lot of bang for your buck. The animations are really cool. I think it's a cool looking knife too. So, you know, it shows a little bit of wear, but I think if you have something like some well-worn or battle-scarred lunar weaves, it could be a pretty good budget combo. Next up, we have the butt plugs for the first time. These are the Shadow Daggers Autotronic in minimal wear, which will cost you around $96. If you have a red inventory, this is a really good option for you. I really do like the Shadow Daggers. I know a lot of people don't, but I think they're pretty cool, and I like the sound that they make when you pull them out. So, and I like the animations as well. But yeah, I guess it's all up to personal preference if you are a fan of the butt plugs or not. Next up, we have another pair of butt plugs. These are the Shadow Daggers Lore. I think they look really sick. I know that they show a lot of wear and well worn, but for $99, I think this is a really good option, especially if you have a gold or yellow inventory. We have another pair of butt plugs. These are the free hands in minimal wear for $90. If you have a purple inventory, really good option for you. I think they look sick. I love the free hand pattern, and the purple is super vibrant on these. So yeah, another good budget option if you do have a purple inventory, or if you're just looking for a purple knife, or I should say knives. Next up, if you want to have a little bit more of a chunkier knife rather than the ones I've shown so far, you can get the Survival Knife Night Stripe in minimal wear for $98. Survival Knife's definitely not my favorite knife in the game, but you can see that it has a lot more size to it, which I think is good, and the rare pullout animation is sick. So yeah, if you have like a navy or a blue inventory, this might be a really good budget option for you. Next up, we have another Night Stripe knife. This is going to be the Paracord knife Night Stripe, in field tested for only $89. I actually enjoy the Paracord knife. I know it's not everybody's favorite, but it is a chunkier knife again, and I think it looks pretty sleek, and you can make some pretty cool combos with it. Yeah, so for $89 in field tested, I think this is a pretty good budget knife. I bet you guys thought I forgot about the gut knife. Of course I did not. This is the gut knife Brightwater in factory new, which will cost you only $89. I really do like the gut knife. You know, I have a Huntsman knife and the animations are the same. And, you know, it's one of the most OG knives in the game. It's pretty classic. So, yeah, $89 in factory new. Brightwater, if you have a blue inventory, this is a good option for you. And, you know, you can pair it with a lot of good gloves and a lot of skins in the game too. Next up, we have our final knife in the under $100 price range. This is another gut knife, but this is going to be the freehand finish this time in minimal wear, which will cost you around $95. Again, I really like the freehand finish, and gut knife is a classic, so if you're building out a purple inventory, really good budget knife for you. Our first knife in the $100 to $150 range, we have a knife I actually really love. This is the Falchion knife Damascus Steel, in field tested for $128. This knife is sick. I mean, it's basically all silver. So if you have like a black and white or silver or gray loadout, this could be a really good option for you. I don't know, I didn't realize how sick it was until I made this video. So yeah, I might actually end up picking this one up, you know, because it would fit really nice with some black ties or something. I'll start speeding this up a little bit more because I know I've been waffling a lot about knives, but I just think some of them are super sick. This is the Falchion knife Autotronic, in field tested, $149. Really good red option if you're building out a red inventory. Next up, we have the Falchion knife Lore in battle scarred for $130. Again, really sick knife. I love the Lore finishes. If you're building out a gold inventory or even a green inventory, this is a really cool option for you. We have the gut knife Tiger Tooth in factory new, which will cost you only $135. I think this knife is sick. I love the Tiger Tooth finishes. If you have an orange inventory, which I'm going to be making a video about pretty soon here, this is a really cool option for you. Next up, we have another gut knife, the gut knife Slaughter in minimal wear, which will cost you $133. Again, really good option for a red inventory. Slaughter pattern, super OG, and you can get really cool ones with like centered diamonds and hearts and stuff. So yeah, really cool knife for the price. I can't really speed run through this one because this is my baby. This is the Huntsman knife Black Laminate, the knife I actually use. Forever, it was the darkest knife in CSGO, and it's gotten a lot lighter in CS2. I have the 42nd highest float one because in CSGO it was like super black, but you can see here it's not nearly as dark, but really sick knife if you're building out an all black or black and white inventory. Nothing more I can say about this, just super sick one. Another really awesome knife for $146 is the Ursus knife Blue Steel. Blue Steel knife's got a huge buff in CS2. I think they look absolutely sick. So if you're building out a blue inventory, really good knife you can get for only $146. Next up, we have another Ursus knife. This is the Ursus knife Ultraviolet in field tested for $142. Really sick knife. I love the purple handle. The dark on the blade looks sick. So if you're building out a purple or black inventory and want a little bit of a color pop, really good budget option. And the Ursus knife has an absolutely sick rare animation. So yeah, really cool knife for only $142. We're back to the Navaja knife. So you can get some pretty cool finishes for a pretty reasonable price on the Navaja. This is a marble fade and factory new for only $145. You just got to decide, do I like the finish more or do I care about the knife more? So yeah, really cool though. Love the marble fades, super colorful, pretty cool budget option. Next up, we have the OG butt plugs for $123. The Shadow Daggers Vanilla. They're pretty much pitch black. They look sick. I mean, I said it before, I'm a fan of Shadow Daggers. So if you like shadow daggers, really good budget option if you have a black inventory. The final knife in the $100 to $150 price range really just sneaks in there by $1. This is the Flip Knife Ultraviolet and field tested for $149. Absolutely love the Flip knife. I know I said I like bigger knives better, but for some reason I love the Flip knife. So yeah, if you have a purple or black inventory, this is a really sick knife. Really good budget knife for the price. Starting off with the knives from $150 to $200, we have a little bit of the flashier ones. This is going to be a gut knife Doppler for $178. If you want a more colorful loadout, this is definitely a really good knife to get. You know, I know people don't love the gut knife, but I think it looks pretty sick. So yeah, I mean, look at that finish. They absolutely got a huge buff in CS2. Next up, we have another gut knife, this time the Marble Fade for $156 and factory new. The Marble Fades are cool because you can get what's called a fire and ice pattern, which means it's only red and blue. This one is almost that. It does have a little bit of yellow on that, but you can get a little bit creative on how you want to pair this with your glove combo. So pretty cool option here for only $156. Next up, we have the Huntsman Knife Lore for $178 in field tested. If you have a green or gold loadout, this is a pretty good option. You know, it definitely looks a little bit worn out for being field tested, but I think this is a high float field tested, so maybe you can get a cleaner one, but really cool option and a really good bang for your buck. Next up, we have another pair of shadow daggers, this time being the Gamma Dopplers. In factory new, these will cost you $178. Gamma Dopplers got a huge buff in CS2, so I think these look pretty sick. Next up, we have the Flip Knife Blue Steel in factory new for $185. This knife is sick. I love the blue steel finishes now. I didn't really check them out in CSGO, honestly, but since I've been making these videos, I've really fallen in love with the blue steels. And like I said earlier, I'm a huge fan of the Flip Knife. So really good knife for $185. So the Bayonet's definitely one of my favorite knives in the game. This is the Bayonet Scorched in minimal wear for $192. I think this is a really good option. I think it looks pretty high tier. It's a high tier knife, so you know, if you have this darker inventory, I think this is a really good knife for you. Next up, we have a paracord knife case hardened in minimal wear for $192. I said it earlier, but I actually like the paracord knife. I think it looks pretty cool, and I love case hardens just because of how unique each one is. So yeah, a really good option for you for $192. So next up, we have the Toothpick, the Stiletto Knife Ultraviolet infield tested for $179, wrapping up the $150 to $200 knives. I think this one looks super sick. You know, if this was all black, it would probably be my play knife. But, you know, I think it looks cool with the purple handle too. If you have a black or purple inventory, I think this is a really cool knife you can add. Next up, we have the first knife in the $200 to $250 range. This is the Nomad Knife Blue Steel, a knife I absolutely love. The Blue Steel knives, I've said it a million times at this point, but the Blue Steel knives look so sick in CS2, and the Nomad knife is one of my favorite knives in the game, so really good budget option for you to pick up at $247. Next up, we have another Nomad knife, this time being the Stained and field tested for $223. If you have more of a silver, gray, or black and white theme, I think this could be a really good knife for you to fit into your inventory. But yeah, not much more to say. I'm trying to get the rare animation here, but I'll stop doing that. But yeah, this knife is sick. Next up, we have another Toothpick, a Stiletto Knife Damascus Steel for $208 in field tested. I think this knife is sweet. I love when the animation where he flips it around in his hand. But yeah, I think this knife looks super cool. I like the stiletto, and I really like the Damascus steel finishes on it. Next up, we have the Ursus Knife Crimson Web and field tested for $228. Again, a really good option for the red inventory. I love all the animations of the Ursus knife, and I like that the handle's black on this one because a lot of the times it's green. But yeah, if you have a red inventory, this is a really good budget option for you. Next up, we have a Gut Knife Fade. The Fade knives are absolutely classic to CS, and the Gut Knife looks pretty sick with it. So if you want to have a real flashy knife but not pay $1 million for it, then this is a really good knife for you. Or for around $15 more, you can get yourself the Shadow Dagger Spade, which I also think look pretty sick in CS2. Next up, we have a paracord knife Slaughter in minimal wear for $248. This knife is sick. I've said it earlier, I love the Slaughter patterns. If you have a red inventory, this is a really good knife for you. Next up, we have the only decent looking Talon knife in this price point. This is the Talon knife Scorched in minimal wear for around $238. I love the Talon knife. It's actually the next knife I'm going to get. Not this one specifically, but the Talon knife in general. It is just a classic knife and it looks super sick and the animations are awesome. So yeah, really good option for you and at a really good price point. Next up, we have the Bayonet Brightwater in field tested. If you have a blue inventory, this is a really good knife to add to your loadout. I wish it didn't show as much wear as it did, but I still think it looks sick. Ooh, I just burped. But the pull animation is really cool, and yeah, really good blue knife and at a really decent price. Next up, we have the Bayonet Stained in field tested for $227. I love the Bayonet, think this one looks sweet. I really do like the stain finishes, so if you have a more low-key loadout, this is a really good option for you. I gotta stop saying that. Next up, we have a Skeleton Knife Night Stripe in Battle Scarred for $228. I really do like this knife. The Skeleton Knife is awesome. The animations are sweet. Yeah, I know a lot of people like it. I mean, look at him spin it on the finger like that. That's awesome. I'm going to try to get the rare animation's awesome. Like you hit an off shot and then you switch to your knife and it does that little spin. That's the dream. So yeah, really cool option for $228. Next up, we have another skeleton knife, this time being the Urban Mask and field tested for $226, only $2 cheaper, and honestly, I think it looks better, but yeah, skeleton knife sick, the rare animation's awesome. I mean, look at that, that's sweet. So yeah, another good budget option, and I think you can pair it with some pretty cool gloves too. Next up, we have the Big Daddy Huntsman Tiger Tooth in factory new for $240. Sick knife. I actually pulled this on CSGO Big once and I regret selling it back, but needed the cash at the time. So yeah, this is a cool option. If you have an orange inventory, chunky knife, really cool pull-out animations. But yeah, there you go. Lastly, to wrap up the video, we have the Flip Knife Autotronic and field tested for $232. Like I said earlier, I'm a huge fan of the Flip Knife, and the Autotronic's a really sick finish if you have a red inventory, or if you just want a little color pop and maybe you have a silver inventory. So yeah, this is going to wrap up the knives from $200 to $250. That's going to wrap up the video for today, guys. These were my favorite knives under $250. Would love to know what your favorite knives are in that price range. I also had someone comment on one of my videos recently saying that my colors look super weird, and for someone showcasing skins, you should probably fix it. So I'm hoping I fixed it in this video. If I didn't, please let me know. But yeah, thanks so much guys for checking it out, and I will see you again in the next one.